Hello everyone, and welcome back to Riven. So today, we will be pressing this button. Yay. Alright, that's done. We're done, we finished the game now. So now we're back in jungle. We should be at least. Okay, we are. Alright, so now... Let me think, I'm thinking... We got the stuff from the black moiety. Oh, wait, we were supposed to go here. That's right. Doop. So now we want to go back. I messed up. Alright. So we do want to actually go visit Gen. And do what he tells us to do. If we don't, we will die. That's one of the endings. Well, I would prefer it to where other people explore the endings. So I'm not actually going to show any of the other endings, except for the true endings. See? Oh, we skip.
Well done. I was greatly relieved when I received word that you had recovered the book. I don't quite know how you managed it, but if I may. Thank you.
Notice there wasn't a jerking motion. We accepted and gave it to him.
Perhaps it would be best if you went through first.
And we listen. Would you look at that? We did it! Now I want to press this thing. Now we don't have to deal with that thing anymore. So we can travel between all the ages freely without having to do anything else. So we also can listen to music. New book that he's working on. Alright, this is his room.
¿Quieren Natsu? ¿Shima? Llórate. Mata neta. Tagamem. San botegan shem. Fasi.
That would be Gen's mother, wife, and Atris's mother. Oops. Just a simple recording of her to keep a reminder. And this is just a cool little sink that he has. Gen and Atris, his grandfather, Gen's father. Atris. Alright. I start this latest journal with astounding news. Catherine has returned to the Fifth Age. And though it sets my teeth on edge to say it, she has also vanished as quickly as she appeared, stolen from me by the rebels. As my guard tells it, she linked into the Fisher Plateau cage as I'd guessed, when suddenly he was set upon... Oh, by a band of rebels who darted him and spirited her away. His lackey. I was like, she? It should be she, right? I suspect the truth of the matter was that he was so dumbfounded at actually witnessing someone link in after all this time that he presented an easy target for whichever rebel had happened by at that moment. The luck of it. He did get a good enough look at her, though, to verify that it was indeed Catherine. He also claims that he inspected all of her belongings and found no linking book on her person. A fact which, if true, makes the question of why she's returned to have all the more puzzling. While I am sick with frustration at having lost the only query. Unsure. That's definitely a Q. That's a U. Has to be a U. That's an A. Can't tell if that's a V or an R. Quavi? No, it wouldn't be a Quavi. That's a Y. So I'm just going to go with query. I don't know. The only query that cage has ever caught. I'm also filled with hope. I really don't think that's it. I'm thinking it may be a bird. She may yet provide me with a way back to Dunny. It is true that I have managed, despite overwhelming odds, to break free of the confines of the Fifth Age and resume my mission to save my culture from extinction, but I fear that unless I am able to regain success or access to the vast resources that lie in the city's ruins, the task of reconstructing that great civilization will be impossible. If Catherine did bring a linking book back with her, then I am halfway there. If not, then she is trapped in the Fifth Age, and I can assume that my emotionally crippled son will soon be along to rescue her. Either way, it is crucial to my plans that I find her soon. Her presence here now forces me to take the rebels more seriously. I should never have permitted them to survive this long. Once again, the Great Wark has demonstrated its usefulness to me. This past week, the villagers have been most difficult to manage. Apparently, they have learned of Catherine's arrival, and their fear of this mythic beast has been all that has kept them in line. He's turned into a dictator now. Had I known how truly useful these prodigious creatures would prove to be, I would have perhaps captured more of them while the local population was still plentiful. Although, to be sure, if these disturbances continue, my current pets will be in no danger of perishing for lack of nourishment. The search for Catherine continues. I now deeply regret my mistake of having ever taught these primitive people anything at all about the books. It seems that with each passing day, I more sorely realize the extent to which they were not ready for that knowledge, not even in the simplified manner in which I had presented it to them. Their minds, adapted only to the exceptionally menial tasks of village life, were incapable of comprehending the art in all its complexity, and thus were unable to extract the essential underlying principles that are ironically so elegantly simple. It is so obvious that much of the discord that exists between us stems from their failure to grasp the full meaning of the information I gave them. If they'd been able to gain even the smallest glimpse of the future I'd planned for them, then this conflict would not exist. The minds of children are much more malleable. With the proper instruction, they have developed a more appropriate posture towards the culture that gave them their lives. At times, they take it to almost as if they had a bit of Dunny blood in them. Given the natives' inborn limitations, however, I'm quite careful that none gain a level of understanding that would permit them to sin against their future the way that Catherine did. How foolish I was to think that she could contain such knowledge and responsibility when it was quite clear that my own son could not. Atris. Still, he remains one of the greatest disappointments of my life. Contradicting what he said earlier. I should have never have left him with my mother. By the time I'd returned for him, he had already been poisoned as to all the thoughts of the Dunny. Perhaps it was the only way that she could rationalize the fact that she had been responsible for the collapse of their civilization, which she was not. So much destruction, as many great lives lost, the guilt must have been unbearable. Now I can see why all the Dunny practically think that Tiana was kind of the main source, but to be honest, most of the Dunny are the reason why it happened. I do have vague recollections of the love she had for my father and for our world, but ultimately she was an outsider whose ignorance of the Dunny became the catalyst for their demise. If I am able to rebuild our culture and in the process correct such crucial weaknesses, then perhaps what she did was ultimately necessary in order that a new era of prosperity might someday come to pass. Oh, so he's kind of like in a stuck between two worlds kind of thing where it's like, is she good? Is she bad for the Dunny? I think all this must have happened so that the Dunny can like rebirth themselves. Not through Gen's image of it. Gen is trying to recreate the image of Dunny, while Atris later on tries to make a new Dunny. Entirely new ways for the Dunny to live and stuff like that, based off of their old versions and trying to make it a better life with elections instead of empires and stuff like that. I think he built a democratic system, which would be really cool if we could get to see Dunny in the future. There are people who are starting to merge over Myst 5 into Uru Live with age building and stuff like that. I cannot wait for all of Myst 5 to be put in, because then some people are thinking that they're going to build the final game, which was meant to be Uru and Myst 5 combined, but they split it, and some of the content was lost. So maybe Cyan will work together with fans and we can actually get the final end game after all these years. That'd be really cool. These last few weeks, I have found myself frequently beset by images from the past. I've never actually heard this word. That's a new word. Yay. As I stood in the schoolroom today, I was reminded of my own childhood, the years I spent in the Bookmakers Guild. Father's immense pride at each of my small accomplishments there. He was an important man in the Dunning world, but I can't bear to think of him for too long. It's too much. I was too young to see such a thing. I've got her. Late last night, I received word that Catherine was in the village attempting to persuade the people to join her. I lost 2 good men in the process, but I would have paid 100 times that number for such a prize. She's been taken to the prison island where I've been attempting to gain some insight as to the reason for her presence here. I have had to fight the all but constant impulse to put her on the gallows. She has adopted the most infuriating stance of only answering my questions, when she answers them at all, in her native tongue. Even so, she is a poor liar. I am now quite certain that her return to the Riven was unintentional, and that she has brought no linking book with her. As far as her unwillingness to share with me the location of the moiety, we shall see. Without their leader, however, they are once again powerless against me. If Catherine's coming here was indeed an accident, then Atris is bound to come for her. That is a given. The question I must now consider is, how will he do it? It is likely that his hesitation has been due, at least in part, to this dilemma. One way or another, though, he'll have to bring a linking book to get back to Dunny. There is no other way. It's late and I cannot sleep. I've lost so much in my life. My people, my father, my son, and you, my wife, Keta. So Keta is his wife. You were the only true kindness I have ever known. Watching you flicker there in the images. Okay, so you can obviously see there's a change in his writing. It's more unstable down here, which either tells me he's running out of ink, which it kind of looks like he is, but at the same time, all these ink splotches tell me that he's not running out of ink. So that means he is high out of his mind. He does have a kind of... he has some form of narcotics that he uses constantly at send the books. And we actually saw it earlier in an earlier journal. He found refining the poison of the frogs made a slicker and more pungent and high-inducing drug that he could smoke with his pipe, which is also his weapon, which is actually kind of a cool thing. Like, he merged quite a bit of things into one. But anyway, I sometimes wonder if you were real. If I could restore your life with my pen, I would do so in an instant and leave the rest of the world to their own wretched fate. These savages. Or dang, these savages. I would be well advised to leave them all in the Fifth Age and begin again with a clear sheet of paper. A stranger has arrived on Riven with a linking book to Dunny, and once again my useless minion was overtaken by the rebels. From what little I could decipher from his muddled explanation, it apparently occurred sometime this morning. The cage has been damaged, but it is no matter. Everything is no matter. Everything I need is to have here now. So, this little passage tells me that Catherine came shortly before us, which means that the brothers were shortly before we came to Mist, got captured into their own prison ages, which tells me all the events in Mist are very closely put together. And then in between now and Mist 4 is the 20-year-long period, which leads into my prison book theory that once we restored all the pages to the linking books, they were actually able to go to Spire and Haven. Because it was as if they were trapped in this fissure area where it wasn't totally... their link hadn't been totally established for whatever reason. But when we put the pages back in their books, they actually linked all the way through. That's my theory, kind of, but I don't know. I know it's not actually like there's weird content creation between Ubisoft and Sign, but it's a great compromise. The cage has been damaged, but it was no matter. Everything I need to hear is now. Everything I need is here now. H is certainly behind this, yet how could he be so foolish as to send someone here with a linking book? Such blatancy is unlike him. Could it be that he has had a change of heart? After all these years, is he finally letting his poor old father go? No, he's only after one thing. Perhaps he should find her. For now, I need only to wait and observe. Yeah, so... he's out of his mind, kind of. And this is the next important thing. This will give us the code to Catherine's prison. So, we need to write this down. That was the wrong thing. I have two things I have. Ding, clap, gears, clap. There we go. Now that we have that, we're good. Kind of has a strange bed, but hey. The music's still playing. Alright, so now we want to find prison age, which should be just a single dot. Yeah, here we go. Prison Island, I should say. Now, as you can see, we can't actually find Riven. This is just a weird island that's far off. Okay, so now we need ding, clap, gears, clap. This is just gonna reset it.
Yafe Adika. You made it. But how'd you get past? You have to get me out of here. If Gen gets the linking book to Dunny, he'll kill Atris. Gen's people may be watching us. The combination to the elevator is somewhere in Gen's office. Be careful. Go then. If you won't help me, then I have nothing more to say.
How do I enter the password? I forgot. It's super simple as well. I swear to God, ding, clap, gears, clap. Well, let me... try something else. Let me try ding, gears, clap, gears. Ding. God dang it. Are you freaking kidding me? There's meant to be a, oh, there's meant to be a skip key! But I'm forgetting what the skip key was! I think it's meant to be space, but that pauses the game. A little annoying. Music's still playing. Oh, there's another gear at the end. I just hit my microphone. There's another gears at the end. Oh, okay. That makes sense then. I missed a little piece of information, did I? Also, I am not looking at chat currently. I'm actually timing the stream with my phone. So most of the time I will not be looking at the chat. That's just because I don't have the opportunity to do so. So dear ding clap gears clap gears. Let me link, 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 Let me link. After this, we'll probably do Exile. But today, I will probably do another Stoneblock. I have on Stoneblock and working on my mechanism stuff. Okay, so it's ding, clap, gears, clap, gears. There we go.
We have to move quickly. Gen's people may already know what's happening. Once we're back with the moiety, we'll have time to regroup. Can I see the book? You did it. We're all free. You captured Gen. But there's still his followers. I'm not sure what I'll do once I realize he's gone. I'll have to get the villagers to safety as soon as possible. You go back to the Temple Island and reopen the fissure. I know it's risky, but it's the only way to signal Atris. I'll try to make it back there as soon as I can, but don't wait for me. Don't forget, the portal combination's in my journal. Good luck.
So, now, we're actually going to read Atris' journal, and then when we get to the fissure, we're going to read Catherine's, because Catherine has the portal key, or the fissure key. So please, I'd like to move my mouse. I'd like to move my mouse. Can I move my... There we go. Okay, so that's Catherine's. We're going to read Atris' journal. They held for more than 30 years, but the corrections I made to Riven have finally failed. The island has resumed the familiar pattern of decay that is the hallmark of my father's work. I must now race to implement this new patch before it's too late. I only hope that my revised theories are sound. Revisions to Riven completed, there are still a number of minor adjustments which need to be made, but the basic corrections have been entered and should be working. Something's not right. I've been monitoring the instruments for several hours now, but have thus far observed no change. It's possible that I've made an error, though I've checked my entry against my pre-notation and can find no discrepancy. I've not had a rest in nearly 3 days, so it may be that I'm just not seeing it. If the fault is with my foundational assumptions, however, perhaps after a short rest I'll see something. Success! It appears that my repairs have been effective after all. The gateway image has become noticeably clearer, and although it is impossible to know this with absolute certainty, the island seems to have quieted itself. Just a few more weeks of work, and I should be free at last to go there myself and attempt to bring Catherine back. The past 8 months have left me little time to devise a strategy for getting her out of there. I've received no sign from her for her in all that time. I'm afraid that no. I must assume that she is all right, lest my fears undermine my efforts to bring her back. Atris has a less cursive and more print way of writing, so that's nice. Again, it's practically all cursive, and it's annoying. I did not create the Age of Riven, unlike my father. I have never presumed to have such power, and yet the future of all those who live there has fallen into my hands. So far, I've managed to read the page before it turns. The island continues to appear stable, and I would like to believe that I have saved a dying world, but the theories of one individual cannot support the lives of real people indefinitely. I must get everyone off of Riven as soon as possible. The problem now is Gen. I'll never be able to rescue Catherine and relocate the islanders if he is still the man he once was. I haven't seen him in over 30 years, but his history forces me to assume that he is still a threat. His myopic mission to restore the Dundee civilization has left too many innocent cultures dying in his wake, and will continue to do so. Were he to once again be free of the confines of Riven, or the Fifth Age as he coldly titled it, the universe has been safe from his corruptive influence for the last 33 years, because no one has been able to leave that age. The last linking book out of Riven had being lost in the Starfisher upon my return to Mist. That was my intention, to maroon my father on Riven by removing all the existing links to other worlds. And since the art of constructing books had long been lost with the fall of the Dunny, he'd be trapped there for the remainder of his lifetime and effectively segregated from the countless other worlds that he would have invaded. In effect, that is what we achieved, but the way it fell, however, was no one's ideal. Though the sting of the incident has gradually faded from my memory, the deep pain of the responsibility for what actually came to be has never left me. At the time, it all seemed so clear. Gen's destructive path could not be allowed to continue, but it was never my choice that the innocent inhabitants of Riven, who had already suffered so much, would be the ones to pay for it. Enough! To dwell in the past is to die in the present. The situation is not the same as it was then. The knowledge I've acquired in the years since that time has yet to be applied to this problem. I think I have the solution. Why it did not occur to me sooner, I do not know, unless the idea of it had been pushed out of the thoughts of my sons. A prison book. Many years ago, during a hunting expedition through the ruins of Dunny, I chanced upon a formula for a most unusual type of book. Unfortunately, due to the fact that my father was then in the habit of confiscating my discoveries, I was forced to leave it behind. Years later, however, as part of my efforts to protect the vulnerable worlds linked to the books in my library, I was pleased to find that I could still recall most of the formula, and with little experimentation quickly succeeded in creating one of these devices myself. The procedure is actually quite simple. By altering key lines of text but slightly, a normal linking books connection can be partially severed. There it is. That's my theory. Such that anyone who attempts to use the book will be permanently trapped in the dark void of the link. That is my theory! That is my theory! So what he did was he ripped out the pages of the linking books, the prison books, and spread them across his other ages. This severed the link to the actual book, but once we restored the pages into it, it allowed them to go into the other ages. 20 years passed, it's now Mist 4. My theory is correct! That is, unless someone else then uses the book, at which point that person would become trapped and the first person displaced back into the world. So, originally, he probably originally did not understand the linking, the actual text that he needed. So what he did, he resulted in just ripping out the pages. But then, with Gen, he actually had a completed book. He understood the formula perfectly, so he made a prison book. He severed the link inside the book instead of ripping out pages. Oh my gosh! I figured it out! The technique can be applied to books that have already been written, changes to the original text being so slight that anyone who is unfamiliar with the code will be unable to detect them. If indeed my father has not changed, what better bait could there be than a book that appeared to be a link back here to Dunny? Trouble. My nightly analysis of the island's condition has revealed that the tremors have begun again. The pattern, however, is new. The disturbances are the result of the changes that I have made. This did not at first concern me, however. Tremors of this type were one of the possible side effects that I had anticipated during this initial phase of the island's readjustment. Still, in order to verify my assumptions, I decided to calculate again. Incorporating the new data, the results were not what I expected. Excuse me, I'm burping. The damage to the understructure is more extensive than I realized. I can no longer go to Riven as planned. Catherine, forgive me. I must act while I still have the time. The signs are barely visible, but there's no question the island's deterioration is accelerating. Total collapse is imminent. Unless I can keep ahead, and that is becoming increasingly difficult to do. With every passing moment, I gain a clearer picture of the incredible chaos that my father's economy of words has yielded. But it is a dismaying process. The complexity of the problem is overwhelming. There's no end to this. The last few days have all but convinced me that the collapse of Riven is inevitable, and that, at best, I can only strive to delay it now. And I hope that at some point the island will become stable enough to a rescue attempt. So, in most cases of Gen's writing, he creates an island, just kind of like Aegis does, but the island is on a structural pillar. And so that pillar will slowly decay out over time, and the entirety of the island will fall into the sea. Aegis is more refined. He actually creates continental plates and stuff like that, so that the islands don't die. But yeah, I think I've come up with a way to subdue the tremors. It will require my exclusive attention for at least a month or two, so it may be necessary to discontinue these journal entries for a while. But it's not but like 4 days later? Or is it like... That's 6 days later. 6 days later, something truly miraculous has happened. Beyond all conceivable probability, someone has finally found my lost linking book and has freed me from this prison. So 6 days later, after, well, actually, let's see, it's 0.3. So 10 days after he, or not 10, wait. 8. 8 days after this entry right here, we come into the picture. So it's not, all these events for Mist and Riven are very tightly close together. And then Exile happens like a year or two ahead, and then a Revelation like 18 years after that. And then that's the 20-year period of the brothers being stuck in the prison, their actual prison. So yeah, I immediately realized that this could be the solution to my dilemma, and I believe my mysterious benefactor is willing to assist me. I'm still not sure it can work. The logistics of such a scheme are formidable, but the mere fact that it may now be possible for me to continue my repairs to Riven and yet proceed with my original intent to find Catherine has given me renewed hope. The last few days have left me little time to work out the remaining problems with sending someone else to Riven. It did occur to me, however, that if a way could be found to signal me once again had been captured, it would no longer be necessary to take a real linking book to Riven and risk the possibility of inadvertently releasing Gen. The deteriorated state of the gateway image makes the use of visual signal impossible, but the picture remains a reliable indicator of Riven's condition nonetheless. By measuring and interpreting variations in the noise patterns, I'm still able to observe basic changes that occur in the age. Even though I cannot see them, the problem is that my instruments can only detect changes that occur on a fundamental level, and it seems unlikely that an individual could affect such an elementary change from within an age. The idea may be foolish. Still, there is a known weakness that may be worth investigating, an anomaly that appears as a rift between two separate systems, the Star Fissure. But how, or even if, this fact could be exploited, I cannot say. Sending someone to Riven also means that once I received the signal that they were ready to return, I would have to leave my writing in order to take a real linking book there myself. However, provided my father was safely out of the way, this should take very little time. After that, assuming the island does not incur much damage in my absence, it should then be a relatively simple matter to hold it together long enough for Catherine to return to Riven and evacuate the remaining islanders. Predetermining a signal without knowing the topography of the island may prove to be impossible, but I'm afraid there can be only one answer to the question of whether or not I should send my friend to Riven with a way out. The potential for failure will be greatly diminished if the prison book is all that is taken there. I'm sure my father expected me to bring a linking book to Riven. May he not be disappointed. So, and then with the way back to home is the fissure, because we see an Uru that you can drop out from the fissure into the New Mexican desert back to Earth. That's guessing that the stranger that we play as is from Earth, though. Hold on, I'm trying to... Yeah. And then in Mist 3, I think it is. Yeah, you see the Riven linking book over in the corner of his office. I believe that's how the stranger gets home usually. He takes it, links into the Star Fissure, and that gets him home. That gets him into the Star Fissure, which dropped down into the New Mexican desert. Which leads me to believe that we may be playing as... what's his name? The guy who is in the caravan? Is it Randy? I don't think it's Randy. Whatever the guy with the Airstream thing. I think we're an ancestor of him. We then buy that plot of land just so that nobody else can go there because stuff. But who? Freaking kidding me. Okay, we want to head to Temple, which is... Oh, I mean, yeah, Temple Island should be this one. Yeah, this is Temple Island. But yeah, my theory was alright. I now don't understand the entirety of Mist the discrepancies of the prison books and stuff like that. I understand now. Yeah, so the top elevator shaft also comes down. What? Ah. Oh wait, no, it doesn't matter. I can just hit that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, that's cool. The steps themselves, like these little boards, actually like turn with it, which is really cool. It's like an actual modern shifting elevator. So now we wanna head this way. And before we do anything else, we're going to read Catherine's journal. I linked to Riven a week ago. The smell of the place overwhelmed me moments before I could see anything. With my sight only partially cleared, I stood motionless, peering ahead through a thin veil, which was slowly lifting. I thought it was has. There was a violent clang and something appeared. I remember breathing slowly and very deeply, tasting the familiar Riven air, but not recognizing a thing. I must have been hit with the dart right away. I thought it was an insect bite at first. I'm trying to remember it all, but it's different, maybe because of the drug. There was a voice. A man I did not recognize stood before me. Rivenese, though he was, wearing a dunny dress. He seemed to be talking to me, but the poison was already taking effect. A shadow crept in and I fell asleep. And there were the many voices, but I understood none of them. Like hundreds of people whispering, I couldn't wake up. No matter, the dream did end, and now to be here with Eddie. It's been so many years I didn't realize how much I missed her, like a piece of me that I had forgotten I'd lost. She's beautiful and so full of warmth, but the years have also left her with a wound which was not there when we were children. I do wish she were more interested. I write quickly from my prison. Nelak. Something while a wife will return your book which the moiety intercepted upon your arrival. After questioning her, I've concluded that it was written by Atris for a very specific purpose. Gen will despair. Gen will desire to use it. Although he may have suspicions. If you can find my prison, you will still need the combination to retrieve me. Gen keeps it in his office. Then I assume we're to signal Atris. I think I know how it may be done, but don't signal him before I am released, Catherine. I do wish she were more interested. It seems like I am asking all the questions. It's awkward. No one asks me where I've been or what I've been doing. This hurts me. This hurts. This hurts. But I understand it. Their beliefs are born out of ignorance and oppression. They are a gentle people, but they've had their nest destroyed, and now they frantically cling to anything that might have them. She has bad handwriting because English was not her first language, so everything's a little hard to read. But why have they chosen to cling to me? I'm confused. As a child, I always felt out of place here. I never belonged. They misunderstood me, and I couldn't relate to them. But now I'm overwhelmed by an intense feeling that I owe everything to them and this place. I thought I would never see them again, and yet I'm here. I've been given this second chance, but a second chance is at what? Saving them? Fulfilling their prophecies? Being their savior? The moiety, Aegis would want me to chronicle all that I've learned. I can at least record some of it. It seems that when Aegis and I trapped Gen on Riven many years ago, our efforts were witnessed by most of the inhabitants here. Two of the Rivenese even witnessed the confrontation with Gen at the fissure, where I linked back to Mist and where Aegis threw himself into the abyss. Of course, they understood little of what they were seeing, but they somehow were able to guess that we had won. That Gen was no god at all, but only a feeble impostor, a false god, and that we had trapped him here on Riven. I always hoped they would deduce this simple truth, but their further conclusions have astonished me. Aegis had stripped Gen of his power. Therefore, Aegis must be a true god. As a god, he was choosing me, the spiritual misfit from a Rivenese womb, to be his wife. I was transcending into deity and would lord over Riven forever. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Thus, the moiety, as they call themselves, were form a dissident society. Thus, the moiety, as they call themselves, were born a dissident society, sworn enemies of Gen. I did not know of their beliefs regarding Aegis and myself until 2 days ago. Eddie was, for some reason, hesitant to tell me. I can't figure out why. I know she doesn't believe these things, of course. Of course, everyone else assumed that I would be aware of my own god status, so they made no effort to inform me. I only realized it at a recent gathering to which I was invited. I sat at the front of a dimly lit and crowded cave as they told a mythical story of my own life, acting out the battle between Aegis, myself, and Gen at the edge of the fissure. The events had been exaggerated into grandiose proportions. It was offensive, but I was unable to stop it. I was unable to break the illusion which is the very foundation of their hope and purpose, and which had given them courage to band together and rebel against Gen. Why would you? I mean, I understand, I don't want to be a god kind of thing, but at the same time, currently, they're kind of your best friends. Since then, I've resumed of other doctrines and beliefs that have evolved, the most disturbing of which is the conviction that one day I would return to Riven to face them. Some believe that I will overthrow Gen, others believe that I will bring them to paradise. I don't know how to deal with this. I fight myself, crossing out it. I love these people, but only real kindred. But they will not love me as an equal, which hurts me. I would rather be their slave than their master. Over the years, as Gen's power has become greater and greater, the moiety's numbers have grown, and they have become more and more adept at hiding themselves. They now live in a complex network of caves that he still has not discovered. The moiety, for the most part, have completely severed their relationships with any of the Rivenese that chose against pitting them. joining them. That looked like a P, but there's a J and there's a faint dot right there. But I hope they've not sacrificed vital limbs in order to remove the cancer. Even Father and Anand? Grant? I guess Grant? I have no idea. Some of this is just really hard to read. That looks like an E. Erant? Amant? Anant? I have no idea. Because this is an E. So that's an E. But why is your writing so terrible? Are still... I'm sorry, whoever actually wrote this. I cannot read some of this. Are still on the surface in Gen's... I know this is probably like her brother, sister, mother, whatever. Are still on the surface in Gen's domains. There's a very small A there. And I long to see them. But, a illness shrouds Eddie's face every time I've mentioned them. Darkness? Something. Since this break to place, they have interfered with the surface in superficial ways, occasionally sabotaging one of Gen's constructions or stealing food from the villagers. They were strange masks and costumes during their forays onto the island surface and take this oh god, it's so hard. Very seriously, I think it's getting worse. To be seen by anyone outside the moiety unless they are properly afraid. They get much pleasure out of the fact that those on the surface are frightened by these costumes, calling them even spirits or ghosts. It was during one of these expeditions that they fortunately rescued me from one of Gen's when I first appeared on the island. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have been delivered to Gen immediately. I have no doubt that he's now searching for me. Of course, I am now aware that I was fooled. Edges is not here. I was at first devastated by this realization. Now I am thankful. He would be in extreme peril here. Also, there's a quiet inner voice, an echoing remnant that wants him away, far away. I've just witnessed an age dying, gasping its last breath. Today, I've ventured to the surface to see what has become of this island. I hoped it would not be as bad as the moiety had reported. It was worse. They had become slowly accustomed to its steady decay, but I was devastated. The lips from which the kiss it wrought has fallen words will fall cold breath. Oh my gosh. The from which the cry released has suffered hurt, will suffer death. I have no idea what she's saying right now. To get to the surface, we had to travel through a complex series of doors and passages. Before the last of these doors, they offered me a weapon, which I accepted, and then a mask. I held the mask in my hands for a while, wondering what sort of terror it might invoke in the members of my family who still live on the surface. But I also knew I must keep my identity hidden from Gen's ever-vigilant eyes, so I accepted it as well. Then together we swam a short expanse and emerged out of the surface of the ocean under a rocky overhang. The harsh sunlight made my eyes sting, but the fresh, rich air was exhilarating after the past week in the dank cave. Two men with me were silent, communication. It's only with hand signals. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm just going to find the code. Somebody else could try and read this. This is really hard. Her handwriting is very hard to understand. Okay, so 12353. Whoa. We can observe. It's pretty cool. Okay, we already took the stopper out. Oh, it's super clear now. You can actually see one of the clouds Gen was talking about, this little patch of strangeness. There's a stopper that I'm supposed to release. Oh, here it is. There you go.
There isn't much time. Where's Catherine? Where's the book?
Atris!
I don't have...
The villagers are safely in the Rebel Age. I thank you.
As do I. You've accomplished more than I could have hoped for. You've given me back my life. The path home is now clear for all of us. This is where our paths must part. Perhaps we'll meet again someday. You know where to find me. Goodbye, my friend. Now I understand. Endings and beginnings are within the fissure. That riven cleft of stars that acts as both a wall and a bridge. And though I am unable to understand how, the very flow of stars that brought my mistbook into worthy hands, I am sure served as a safe passage home for my friend. The age of Riven is closed forever, but the people of Riven are free. And now I am at rest, understanding that in books and ages and life, the ending can never truly be written.
And that is the end of Riven. The story will continue in Mystery Exile. The perfect place for revenge! Thank you guys for watching. I will see you all guys later. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe, follow on Twitch. Again, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all later. Y'all have a great day. Yeah, see y'all later.